What's up guys, and welcome back to How to Rip. This is lesson of the week, and today I'm going to dissect some common beginner mistakes which could be having a huge impact on your surfing. Let's jump into it. If you're new here, this is lesson of the week, a show where we release a new surf tip every single week dissecting the art of surfing. So make sure you subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss out. One of the biggest mistakes that we see beginner surfers commonly making is misreading the waves. And it's a very hard one to overcome because it's very difficult to teach someone to read waves, and really the only prescription that we can give you for that is to spend as much time in the water as possible. And that comes down to a commitment to surfing. The other thing that we can say to do is to actually spend time with good surfers and spend time watching what good surfers do when it comes to catching waves. Where do they take off? How do they paddle? How do they adjust? How do they get into the wave itself? And that really comes down to time, guys. You have to spend a lot of time watching, observing, and being in amongst the waves. And that's why we told people in How to Rip 1 to actually get out in the water with your surfboard and don't worry about catching waves. Just get used to it. A common mistake that we see in this area is people taking off, trying to take off under the lip when they need to be in the pocket to be able to take off successfully. Some people also sit too wide and aren't able to catch the wave because they're not close enough to the power source. It really depends on the surfer, but this is one of the most common errors we see, is that people aren't able to read the wave. And again, the cure for this phenomenon is to just spend as much time in the water as possible, observe good surfers, practice catching waves, and you'll get better. Mistake number 2 is paddling ineffectively, which results in wasted energy and wasted waves. Ideally, you should be putting your arms in the water up to your elbows or just before them. When beginners paddle, they often just use the end of their arms in the water, whereas that's not actually effective. You want to use your whole forearm, just around to about the elbow and even a little bit further. And that way we're maximizing the amount of water that we're displacing to move forward. The other thing I like to tell people to do is to almost cup your hands. You don't need to keep them cupped, but to actually maintain a strong hand position where you create a bit of a vortex through the water. A lot of professional surfers use an S when they paddle, so that generates a little bit more momentum forward. Another thing that beginner surfers do is they don't paddle enough when they're trying to catch a wave. And again, this is probably one of the most common errors we see with beginner surfers. They get too excited, or they feel the pressure too much. They want to get up early to avoid nosediving, and they end up just taking off without actually catching the wave. And this is a major error. What we tell people to do who are in this boat is to actually think about when they're ready to catch the wave and then add 2 extra strokes. Simply plus 2 extra strokes before getting up can actually be a game changer when it comes to making sure that you catch the wave every single time. After enough time, you'll actually be able to recognize when the wave has actually picked you up and has given you enough power to be able to take off. But generally, to begin with, people do take off and try to stand up too early, resulting in them toppling off the wave without actually catching it. So we recommend plus 2 paddles in the beginning.
Nothing wrong, it's alright with you. No ties, no price, no need, so free.
Another massive error we see with beginners is not bending their legs enough. They're taking off into a straight-legged position. This isn't actually a very stable position to be in. Just imagine if someone said, hey, I'm going to come and try and push you over. Stand as strong as you can. What would you do? You wouldn't be like this, would you? You would actually go like this. You would be down and low. You would use these leg muscles and the bum muscles to actually keep you nice and strong. You would activate the core. And that's very important to do when you're surfing. If you surf with straight legs, you're not going to be able to turn. You're not going to be able to maneuver the board. You're not going to be able to stay nice and strong and actually stay on the board. This is where all turns and movement comes from, and momentum comes from whilst you're surfing, from these strong legs being activated, turning into the core, the hips, the shoulders, and being able to move along the wave. So mistake number 3 is not bending your legs enough. When you do this, you'll be more stable, your core will switch on, your shoulders will be more activated, and your surfing will improve through the roof.
No ties, no prize.
Final mistake we're going to talk about today is leaning to the sides or back and forth to direct the surfboard instead of generating that turn from the ankles, the knees, and the hips, and the core, and the shoulders. Okay, this is really important. We talked about this in How to Read 2, 6 advanced surfing lessons you need to know. All turns start initially with the eyes, so we're going to look where we're going on a wave and then we want to initiate a turn accordingly. To do that, we don't want to actually lean over because we lose our center of gravity and we're just going to topple onto the flat of the wave, or we'll topple onto our back on the water. We actually want to see these places on the wave where we want to go, and we want to initiate the turn by rocking our feet. Just have a look at what I'm doing with my feet here. I'm just rocking them back and forth, and it shouldn't actually be as pronounced as that either. It should be just a subtle movement on the board to initiate the turn. If I want to move up the face on my forehand to move this way, I'm going to naturally just use the toes to micro lean over to that inside rail, to that rail there. If I want to turn this way or on my backhand, or I want to turn up the face or rebound off the whitewater, what I'm going to do is actually use the heels more so to turn. So there's going to be less weight on my toes, more weight on my heels, and my whole body will actually adjust accordingly to that. So we'll see a train of kinetic events occur throughout the body once we adjust our feet. So our feet move on to the heels, our knees switch on, our bum comes back a little bit, our chest turns on, and we open up to the wave. This is really important. A lot of beginner surfers actually just sort of lean and end up toppling over, and that's why a lot of skateboarders tend to transition well into surfing. It's a major mistake. We need to stay low, stay compressed, and we want to actually initiate the turn properly, and that's when we'll start to rip.
What you do, how you feel, as long as you can show me a good time. I don't need promises, honestly, no big deal, as long as you can show me a good time.
Guys, that was lesson of the week. 4 common beginner mistakes that if you change, if you get right, your surfing will improve through the roof. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments below what else you want to see. If you want to stay up to date with me surfing, come along on Instagram at CalsBroccoli. Oh, I'm seeing some good wedges. I'm going to head out there now. See you guys.